Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DPL promotion tournament. I am Rook, and I am joined by Red Commissar as we have a matchup for you between Gnome and Momentum.
Yes, no, this is going to be a really good match today. We have the top, or I think they're the second place. No, they are the top rivals team going against the last place DPL team. Now, Momentum, while they may have been in last place in DPL, they really showed how strong of a team they can be in the DreamHack tournament. And they nearly took that tournament. I think they came in second place in that tournament and had a really, really good showing. So they are an amazingly strong team. Rough start in DPL, which put them in the last position, but they are very worthy of a higher spot. Gnomes came out of their rivals. They're a completely new team. They were made of basically nobodies until they made a name for themselves. And now they're the top team in Rivals, and they have a really good chance of getting into the DPL. Whichever team wins this game will, in fact, move on to playing in DPL for Season 3. And I think it's going to be a really good game. These are two highly skilled teams. We got, of course, Momentum being one of the two EU teams we saw in DPL this season, and Gnomes, they're mostly an NA team, so we'll call them an NA team, coming out of nowhere again, just in Rivals and making a name for themselves, really just doing well and becoming a huge part of the community as a whole. Momentum, I think we're going to see them play like we've seen them play throughout all of DPL. They're going to take it very slow. They're going to really kind of put pressure in, and they're really just going to kind of collapse onto the bomb at the end of right at the last minute and take the round. Gnomes can play very aggressive, so I think it's going to be interesting to see how the two teams compare.
Yeah, I mean, kind of that comparison again. The two EU teams, Flogels are the fast ones, Momentum are the more slow ones, and Momentum probably have a decent amount of scrim experience, I feel, against Flogels, so they should be well equipped to deal with a lot of Gnome are throwing at them. So I think there's a real chance there for Momentum to show just how classy they are. But to go back to Gnomes very quickly, for DreamHack, I mean, they performed pretty well there as well. They didn't quite as well as Momentum, but it was one of the kind of first inklings of talent of this squad, and I was impressed when I actually got to see them play.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think DreamHack was also a place where Gnomes really made a name for themselves. But at that point, they had definitely started to be in the top bracket of Rivals. But I think when we really saw how they performed in DreamHack, again, I think DreamHack was just the place where you saw the teams come into their own. We saw Rise, who is actually the first place team in Rivals now that I remember, and Gnomes is just behind them, nipping at their heels. I believe they have the same point value. It was just the score difference was a little more in favor of Rise. Rise is actually going to be in DPL next season no matter what, because Hypa, if you remember, disbanded. So we only have to do 2 relegation or promotion matches, rather than 3. So Rise is the DPL team that is moved up for sure into, or Rise is the Rivals team. Tongue twister there. That is moving up into DPL. Gnomes is competing against Momentum for it. But again, both Gnomes and Rise did exceedingly well. Well, they did well. Rise got a little screwed by the brackets, if I remember correctly. They had a good first 2 games, and then they got one of the hardest brackets of any team and ended up in about a middle place, which was still very good for them coming in, especially with their hard bracket. But I think DreamHack, like we've been saying, was really a place where these teams, because it's the first time that a lot of the DPL and Rivals teams met, is really where we saw which teams are strong and which teams need a little more work.
Absolutely, it was a great place for them to really cut their teeth and prove exactly where that kind of power ranking sits. Because I do think there's a lot of rival teams that are kind of being looked down on because they are on rivals. They're still pretty darn strong, and this is obviously one of those first couple of times, obviously, that they're going to be able to get back. Well, at least in recent history, that they're going to be able to promote it up to that DPL. And I mean, if we look at the matchups, obviously, as you said, this is the highest seeded tournament, highest seeded rivals team that's in this promotion tournament, and then you got Momentum, who are obviously the lowest seeded DPL team coming on in. This should be the chance for Gnome to take it, but as you said, we really wouldn't want to count Momentum out. They're a very strong team in their own right, and as you said before, should be well equipped to deal with a lot of the aggression that Gnome are really bringing.
Yeah. I mean, Momentum set all season. I mean, the first half of the season, they were the butt of every DPL joke. It's just the unfortunate truth. They were not doing well, but they just managed to cut their teeth, scrim hard, and really learn how to play this game. And now they're coming in. Interestingly, I really feel like Rivals and DPL are 2 very different ecosystems. And whilst the metas aren't entirely different, there is definitely a bit of a different meta in Rivals and DPL, just because of the two leagues haven't really interacted that much. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how these teams collide. I
think that's really interesting. The difference in methods. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's not huge, but you definitely see. I think the Rivals are a little bit more aggressive and like sticking together kind of pushes, whereas I think a lot of the DPL teams like split pushing. I think that's probably the biggest one that I can really think of off the top of my head. But definitely, as someone who has scrimmed both Rivals and DPL teams semi-regularly, it is like playing in 2 different leagues. It really is, because I mean that's what it is. We can definitely expect to see an interesting game here. Whilst Momentum got really good at playing against DPL, it would be interesting to see if they can handle a Rivals team. I think they can, but I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle either way. It could go either team.
Absolutely, as you say. And I mean, again, we're saying that difference in the style. Momentum are a slow team, and as much as they have experience against some of these faster teams, it might be that little bit too fast. That tempo might be a little bit too much. And if you get a bunch of players, ram them on in there, eventually they're going to break on through. Momentum, they're a slow and purposeful team, but sometimes can get caught out on those rotates, so they've got to be very careful. Flogel, though, Flogel themselves is actually giving up a lot of support for them and is saying that Razor will ace every round. I don't think it's quite going to go that way, but I have been impressed with a lot of what Razor's come out with before. So I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to really perform and show us here on Momentum. I mean, interestingly, I want to see exactly what they're going to do with some of these new maps that we've got open. Because obviously yesterday was the map update.
We got yesterday's the map update. We actually haven't seen Momentum play since the addition of Dome and Weapon Field 2.0. And even then, we got the shotgun. Shotguns have been fixed, I guess. They are no longer pea shooters. They are actually scary again. They are, in fact, very scary weapons. And I know that that some of the players on Momentum and some of the players on Gnomes, 2 players in particular, really like their shotguns, and I'm going to expect to see some good plays from them. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Macius and Control, kind of scary with shotguns.
Yeah, they're always pretty terrifying, and it's important as well. If you're playing against those shotguns, you got to be ready for it. You got to be flashing a lot of those corners if you're pushing on into it, and obviously playing around your utility to cut the strength out of them. Because if you give those shotguns the more advantageous angles, well, they're just going to tear you apart.
Oh yeah. Now the match should be starting soon, and we should be getting in.
Here we are. I'm loading on in. Is
Yeah.
that Killdome I can
We
hear?
seem to be going into Killdome first, followed by C-Store, and then Factory.
Fantastic. Sounds good. And this is actually the first game of Killdome that I'm going to get to commentate. So I'm very excited to see exactly how it plays out. Obviously, got a lot of different kind of opportunities and a lot of different pieces that are going to be radically different from what we see on most maps.
Oh yeah, for sure. Killdome is a very different map. It's similar to Factory in a lot of ways, with a lot of its long sightlines. The thing is, it's kind of like 2 or 3 Factory floors glued together with just these small rooms in between that really throw up the gameplay. And it's a little bit chaotic, but it's just this perfect controlled chaos that just allows for some really interesting gameplay.
Now yeah, it's very diverse as well, a lot of those angles.
Yeah. We're coming in on Operation Elephant Arrow. It seems like Gnomes, who are starting on attack, they just want to do an easy eco play. They're pushing Beach, definitely a risk. It's always hard to push that, especially on a map like this, because you are worried about someone playing over by the power breaker who can just get line of sight. While they can't get it on the door, they'll definitely get it on this ridge line here, which Gnomes has to push over. Momentum, not really prepping for that much. I mean, they have a line over by the beach, so we might see some players over there. We do in fact see someone spawning in base, but they are barbing that side of the map. So they could be expecting this, but they definitely seem to be setting up more around ruins, as that is the one that is pretty much just right on bomb.
Absolutely. Beach could be a bit of a problem as well. It can be a bit of a death trap, so maybe they're not expecting that push. And look at the player towards those breakers. Doesn't have a longer rifle. It's really going to be Macius and Voxel who are going to have to lock down these sightlines, and they have already got some pretty aggressive positions there, already rushing on in. You can see that Entima backing off, don't want to get caught off guard by the Gnomes early on here as Taran completely pushes all the way on through. Shotgun right here. Can Kuzzy find this shot with the shotgun? Takes down one. Can they find the second? But Control Alt shuts them down. And with the breakers down now, that means it's a great opportunity for them to push on it.
Now, something you have to remember about this map is the water is actually backlit, meaning pushing through it with a power outage will completely silhouette you. So that's something that the attackers don't want to do.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful here, but it looks like playing more back towards Pit, covering those longer angles. Voxel is completely locking Med down in this position, but for the most part, you can see that Gnomes are kind of trapped in there. Oh, Med takes down Voxel at that longer angle with the SMG there, completely forcing them out. Mirror giving away their position, but still finding a good couple of shots. However, with so many players covering them, Razor falls control. Is able to pin Mirror. Macius can't even get into the right position here. Is now trying to get a line of sight, but Med is watching the angle. They're sticking on the defuse, going for it. Mirror pushes, Macius pushes, and Med and Index completely destroy that push.
That was a very good push from Gnomes. I expect we'll see plenty of pushes like that. Again, I think both these teams are definitely more favored on the attack side here, so it'll be interesting to see when Momentum gets on attack how they're able to challenge Gnomes. It was interesting. We saw the Mop play right at the start, standing on the entryway to observation and able to get a shot as they kicked down the entryway onto Beach, just getting an instant Mop body shot. But that didn't matter. We still saw Taran run all the way up to the power breaker and take it down.
Yeah, and it was also that they had the shotgun player there. They didn't have any longer range weapons, and double smoke to just pass straight on through. What do you really do about that? You have to spray it, and they didn't have the players committed in the area. They put 2 players towards Pit, which I think is a really interesting decision. And Macius was completely cut out a lot of this game, so don't know exactly how I feel about a lot of their positioning, but I think they also now have a better understanding of what will make this map tick.
Yeah. I definitely also feel, in a sense, that this is coming down a bit to the Rivals versus DPL meta. While, again, these are just minor things, I think a lot of the Rivals teams like doing the eco push first round. They feel it's safe, and it secures them a double charge later in the game if they want to, whereas a lot of the DPL players feel it's just better to charge that first round and win, and then be able to charge all 3. And I don't think Momentum was really expecting or prepared for that push, especially when you have those 2 red doors, which are really close to bomb. They were pretty much straight pushes right onto bomb, and arguably even a better power take than what Gnomes was able to do. But Gnomes was able to execute that smoke push really, really well, and that put a lot of challenge right onto Momentum. And now Gnomes has all 3 of their charges moving into the second round. They could execute a double charge if they wanted to, although it does look like they want to drop storefront. They do want to do a charge. In fact, they might do the double charge. They seem to want to charge from storage into bathroom to take that bomb, and they want to go, I would assume, excuse me, they want to breach through storage, the red door, and push straight into bathroom. That would be a very powerful push from there, and I don't think that is expected. Now, they can definitely barb for it, but they're likely going to barb for the push through the storage door, and if they barb for that, that wire is going to get destroyed, and it's going to enable Gnomes to just kind of flood into bathroom and take the bomb with minimal opposition. That said, Gnomes does look like they want to place a barbed wire in storage. If they have someone playing storage, that could be hugely detrimental to Gnomes. Just being able to get that early chip damage and even call the wall charge so Molotovs can be prepped, that would be really, really big for Momentum. And if they can pull that off, Gnomes might end up losing a double charge round. And they could even lose before they place the wall charge. If Momentum steals a wall charge and a clacker, this game could go very interesting very fast.
Yeah, and there are a couple of ways you could potentially play spoilers of this. Player and teller, player obviously in storage itself, and how they react to a lot of these pushes towards bathrooms. There's going to have to be some quick rotates coming on in. Otherwise, obviously, Momentum are going to find themselves in a very difficult position. Love that Chris is actually playing this close angle. It's going to be really necessary, and they have to come up big. Oh, is already in there, pushing really aggressively. Macius punishes them for getting a little bit too overzealous here, and Chris, understanding that this push is likely coming on through, flashes go on in. I think they got caught a little bit there, but not all too much. Tarin tries to push and completely denies them. Macius just can't play that angle, however. They're going to clear out the rest of this storage. Likely getting ready for this push on into bathroom. They do have the util. They are going to pop it on down. They're going to blow through that wall and likely just go straight on in for this execute. Nog just making sure they've got that little bit of comfort. There goes the util, but oh, a molly from Razor catches the push there from Tarin. This means that while there are 3 players in bathroom and 3 players in storage, that execute's going to be that little bit more delayed. Keep an eye on Macius as well. Those mollies are going out one by one. They are now out of them. The Gnomes are looking for their chance to make a push here. Spray coming on through. Mirror doesn't hit anything yet. They're trying to deal with some of these angles, but as they push on in, Mirror denies one. Nog pushes right on in, but Voxel with the knack and with Macius cleaning up the back. That's a round in the bag for Momentum and a pretty clean deny there.
That was a beautiful hold on Momentum's part, and I really think what we saw there was Gnomes. They tried to push Tellers, and they tried to take it. Unfortunately, Control was not able to clear Tellers, and that really cost them. They decided to everyone sticks to their roles in the plan, even if someone dies, and sometimes you really need to adapt. I mean, that's due process. You got to figure out when you need to adapt and when you need to stick to the plan. In that situation, they needed to adapt. They needed to send someone into Tellers. One flashbang would have cleared it out, and then they wouldn't have to have dealt with their flank as much. Now, again, that wouldn't have really stopped the Molotovs and the team holding in bathrooms, but it would have at least kept their flank secure, would have prevented a little bit more chip damage, and would have definitely stopped that last little flank that really completely won the round for Momentum there.
Yeah, I think Control getting caught out early on there was a real problem, obviously, for the squad. The fact that they were already down a player was a problem. And they tried to push into an angle that they were kind of already prepped for, right? They knew that they were going to try and push into storage there and do something. They didn't obviously know it was going to be a double breach play, but they at least tried to go for it. They knew something was going to be happening there. They were ready. They had the flanks. They had everyone in position. And as a result, it's pretty easy to shut down. It wasn't that surprise factor like we saw in map 1.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that when you're going to use a wall charges are very powerful, and what they did could be a strong strat. The issue is when you have the green door right next to where you're breaching, and the same Molotov for the green door is the same Molotov for the wall charge, you're not really gaining anything by wall charging there. You don't get the surprise factor. Yes, if there was barb there, it would have cleared it. Yes, if someone was playing close, it would have killed them. But neither of those things were actual factors that they had to take into consideration, and it basically just made the funnel they were pushing through slightly wider, but still allowed all the guns to be looking in the same spot, all the Molotovs to be thrown into the same spot. It was no better than just pushing through that green door.
Absolutely. So what's going to be important about this one? Because obviously we've got Office overlooking that no man's land.
So we're coming in on Operation King Rush, our factory map for this half. This no man's land is definitely an interesting place to play. It's really going to prevent a Docks player from being able to contest bomb and put so much more importance into Office, as you can look down into the no man's land from Office and the catwalk, but you're not really going to be able to cover it much from Dock. It looks like Gnomes is going to do a green push with a peak hole on Docks to secure that side. Not sure how much is going to gain them, as it looks like most of Momentum's playing on the other side of the map.
Macius is the one with the clacker near that fan, to keep in mind.
It does look like Momentum is predicting a fan push, but that's not what's going to happen.
It's not going to be too much of a problem for them. Nog obviously applying a lot of pressure there. Mira's still playing this Dock position, even though we didn't think it was going to be super important. With that given up, they're in a bit of a difficult position. Macius is that first point of contact. Manages to take down Control Alt there. He's way too far forward. Gets caught off guard. Macius just backs on off, has that little bit of extra defense towards this bottom left-hand corner. The smokes go in, and the cross comes too. Macius is likely going to pop up and give Terran a bit of a bad day there. Molly to try and deny that push through the smoke, try and cut off a lot more of their options, as Razor is still waiting in Toxic, and I think Med trying to cover it. Great nade coming in from Index means they don't have to deal with them, but with Voxel at the long range, with Mira still playing on this Dock position, and the fact that we haven't seen much come out from some of these further back players, it makes it really difficult here. Voxel wastes Terran, and they just can't play at these longer ranges, even though they have the better weapons. Nog is starting to get into position, moving up to that fan to provide some fire support, and maybe take down Voxel here. We'll be able to pop on in. They're going to be able to take it down as well, Mirror. So with that, they can be able to put shots straight onto this no man's line and takes down two. Brilliant usage there of the long-range weaponry. Nog completely denies him. Razor is playing in it on Molly, buys some time. They play around Med, will get some good shots. Razor is completely cut off there, and as much as he takes down Med, Index will be there to back it up. It's a good round in there for Gnomes as they come out 2-1 in this part.
That was a very strong push on Gnome's part there. Again, I don't think Momentum was really set up properly for it, and it definitely caught a few of their players out of position. Definitely Mirror and Macius, just a little out of position for that play. The rest of the team was able to fall back to Office, and that's really where you want to be playing to counter this push. But the Gnomes just won the gunfight. They had two snipers on their side. They had an attacker with an Igmar. You know, this was a particularly long-range set of maps, and the defenders really started hurting on their economy because they burnt a lot of their long range early on. And that left
it's about trying to plan for that, but obviously they didn't know that they were going to be playing these long-range sites, and now obviously we're going into the second half. They have a lot more information now, don't they?
Yeah, we're going to see Gnomes coming in. They have just played the set. They've just been told again what this set, or what this half's map rotation is. They're probably getting ready to econ for it, and they'll probably do a little bit better than Momentum. Again, Momentum hasn't had to deal with a factory dome rotation yet, so they haven't gotten used to saving those long-range guns for when they're really going to need it. Gnomes has had a lot of experience on this. A lot of their players are super active in the community, and, you know, they have played Dome a ton of times. Again, I think Control-Alt-Delete has the most games of any due process player at the moment. He's at 2,000 something at this point. It's absurd. Man has only been playing the game for a couple months at this point, and he already has the most games when some people have been playing this game for years. It looks like Gnomes is really expecting a similar push, which is definitely what they should be expecting based on the lines from Momentum. They want to push that beach, but they want to take observation rather than taking power, and that looks like it could be beneficial for them. For those who are unaware, observation is actually a wall of one-way cameras. So when you're playing an observation, you can see the rest of the map, and the rest of the map can't see you. They put one person on observation, they can call out every other position on the map, and really make it easy for their team to push in and throw proper flashbangs.
Yeah, I think maybe taking control of that and not contesting pit so much might be a really important way to play out some of these rounds. But looks like it's going to be this beach push again, and maybe something from pit as well. Maybe they're going for that split push, which is more characteristic of those DPL teams that you mentioned before. already going to be setting up on that beach, getting ready, waiting for the rest of the team to get into position, and it is exactly that kind of split push here. Obviously, already one round down. Need to be a little bit careful. Med trying to provide some of that fire support, but backs away, stays in observation, knows it's important to keep this angle. And as soon as that clacker goes, Nog is in for an unpleasant surprise here. Razor and Voxel already pushing on up. You can see Control trying to hold that angle, tries to take down Razor here, but with the backup of Med, they do take him low, but not quite finish him. Macius and Mirror still waiting for that opportunity to push on in here. Index finds that first frag, taking down Razor, makes that push that little bit harder. Nog hears it, backs off, and there's such pressure onto jungle now. But you can see Chris and Voxel pointing out so much info here should make this push a lot easier. That molly whiffs, goes straight into the pit rather than onto the actual portion of the map where you need it. And oh, they take down Chris. It's now 3 versus 4. As they did manage to take Med for it. The execute comes on through with all the info they've got. This should be big, but Mirror cannot find a frag alongside Macias here. Now it's a Voxel versus 4. This momentum push has completely had the legs cut out from underneath it, and they just couldn't make it work. They had so much to work with, all the information, the flashbangs, everything going on in, but it just doesn't work, and well, that's a round picked up for Gnome again.
No, I mean, I think we really saw the big fault of the split pushes, which is just that it splits your health pool. When both sides don't succeed in their job, and we saw that the beach side got cut down, the other side was just at a huge disadvantage because they had to do a push through one choke point, and they didn't have the health pool to do it. If you had all 5 going in one direction, that health would be more distributed around. You'd be able to take more shots as you pushed, and probably would have turned out a little better.
Yeah, it really would have. I think they needed to try and play for that little bit higher tempo, not lose players all over that top side. And then at that point, it's too little too late. Yeah, sure, you get a great push. Sure, you push them off right away. You've got that info already, an observer. I think that's probably what they were waiting for, to get that extra info. But you need to actually apply some pressure so you don't have basically what it was a 4v3 on the other side of the map. And it just made everything so difficult for them.
You know, you really need to have either the split push go very well, where you are putting just these 2 routes of pressure onto a team that really can't dedicate the guns it needs to either side, or you get this full big mass of 5 attackers pushing through one entrance where there is just no physical amount of guns you can put on that door that'll actually stop them from being able to push if they use flashbangs properly. We're now back on the C-Store map of this rotation, Operation Prideful Fist. Looks like the Gnomes, they're a little worried about Office, or they're not worried about it. They're prepping wallbangs for that. They want to put their Legros or Mop player in there, and they just want to suppress the bomb. They just want to put shots past the bomb and keep them off it. They're also getting ready to place a barb down in storage. Momentum, unsure of what to do after that loss. If I were them, I would be heavily considering just going the storefront route. You get that free entrance. It's not that bad of a play. If they really wanted to try and go big or go home, well, looks like they might be considering arcade. But if I were them, I don't think we're going to see a good wall charge spot on that factory. I don't remember there being that many. Maybe the docks was usable, but I don't think so. I would wall charge the shed, take power, and then push through the rooms completely obscured by darkness. They didn't lose any MVGs that last round. They didn't take any. That would be the play, but no, they're going to go for a door charge on the arcade, which is going to put them at risk for Med with the knack, able to just spray them down as they try and push. Sure, they'll probably get power anyways, but they'll take a lot more chip damage for it.
It doesn't look like they prioritize power that much, and I actually think this is a good call. I think pushing through arcade, if you can take control of Office, the round could essentially be over from there. There's not many ways which you can put that pressure on. Nog, obviously, being that storage player with an auto shot, for them to contest this bathroom does get a little difficult. It really is down to maybe Index and Taran to find a lot of those wall bangs. But Storefront, it looks like it's going to do that split push again. You said this is a key part of what is that DPL style, and right now it seems to be falling victim to a lot of pressure that would otherwise come. Razor completely opens up Tellers, now has it, forces out the molly, and the push comes in. Taran cannot hold a candle, and Med wasn't there with the knack like you said they needed to be. Med now rotating back into bathroom. They know it's going to be a key point. Razor already applying a lot of that pressure, but doesn't want to push. Knows there's likely a nasty surprise waiting for them there. Control trades back and forth with Macias there, so it's not all bad. They're only 1 player down, and they're actually pushing off of Teller. They give up all of that control. Nog still has to be wary of it, has to be waiting for it, but pushing through this one little angle could be oh so difficult. Just goes on in, drops a lot of that utility. Flash goes. Voxel is first on the site. The nade damages Index, but doesn't quite finish it. But Razor to do that one. Takes down a second as well. And Nog comes in to clean up so much. Mirror needs to find and just barely does with a sliver of health. That's a round for momentum, but that was too close for comfort.
That was a very close round. Nog with the auto shotgun, nearly clutching up, getting the 3 and almost 4K. Look at how low Mirror is. He has a sliver of health. That was a very close round for Gnomes. They definitely could have played it better, but my god. Nog with the auto shotgun. That man is scary.
You see why they call it a street sweeper, because he absolutely cleaned up momentum there. You got to be more careful than that. You had the advantage, and you almost, I will admit you actually did manage to make it, but almost threw that entire thing away. Does just about clutch it out. We're all good. It's all okay. But momentum, they are a DPL team, and they made that DPL strat work this time a lot more effective. And we saw that Control Alt Delete actually struggled with a very similar push to what we saw there. And this time they made that push and taking complete control of Tellers much, much easier. In part because there wasn't a player there, but in and of itself, they rotated off. They knew that they had the pressure and that Nog couldn't be a major part of the rest of that push, where otherwise he could have been completely deadly to this squad.
Oh, yeah. That was a very good double push, a very good split push. I mean, that's what you want to see. You want to see the split that secures your flank. Now, whilst we can really see the splits on where you pincer bomb site, those are hugely powerful. They're not always the best because, again, you do have to push through a lot of rooms with less health pool, and that can cost you. But when you split that entry room to really just give you that extra oomph getting into the building or even the room after entry, that's where it really is. You're pushing through less rooms, you get together, you get that health pool for that final push, which is where you really need it. Again, I think split pushes have a place in this game, and they are a very powerful strat. I don't want to say that they're not, but they are definitely a risk, and I think DPL has been overusing them compared to rivals.
Yeah, you want to sprinkle them in rather than playing solely with them. Now, to kind of come back to this map, I actually think that's a really nice usage of that wall charge.
I had definitely forgotten that was even something they could do when I was remembering back to that map. But yes, this is a very good use of the wall charge. It's going to get them underneath Office, meaning the defenders will have to jump down to counter them, and we're likely going to see Legros's Mop, just these guns that really don't have the best close quarters capacity playing Office. And if they jump down, an AP or a DL is just going to delete them. Even a Blacktar would probably win at that range against Allegros. You do have to worry about this catwalk up here. That is a pretty nasty angle that they can get on you as you push out. But as long as you're watching that, as long as you're flashing that, I don't think they have too much to worry about. And they're going to get control of bomb. They're going to get control of the side of bomb that's the easiest to hold. This could be very good for them.
Yeah, I do like that Med is actually playing in storage, though.
It looks like they are considering at least looking into Toxic, which means they could try and get power.
I mean, hey, if there's no one contesting it, it's pretty free. I think you mostly want to flash it out, see if there's any response, and then push it if it's free. Otherwise, you know what, you can be pretty happy with Office. You can put some pressure onto it, make sure you're not getting flanked, but you've got to be careful that those pushes don't come in from behind, because we saw if you give Gnomes a chance, they will clean you up pretty easily. Now, getting ready for this push, or pushing in through the same angle, going for that more all eggs in one basket style. However, Med pushes off the worst possible time there and won't be able to find all too much, especially with that big block in the way. Voxel pushes on in. Med tries to find it, but the spray is there. Voxel pushes on in behind, will open things up with Razor, and Med has hightailed it out of there long ago. Easily gets that wall breach down. You can see now the map is split north and south as the mollies go in very, very early here. I think that's a little bit over-aggressive from Gnome here. It might bite them on the behind. Razor has to be careful here. Just about doesn't go down, and the lights are out. This is their time to shine. They're going to start to push on through smokes, completely take control of Office, and Macius is under a lot of pressure, but does at least manage to trade out one of their team members before falling. Mirror nearly finishes things up. That molly, you can see Control Alt pushing, and Mirror cleans them up. Just two more remaining. Index and Nog playing on this back angle. Razor pushes in, takes down Index, and Voxel finishes off Nog there. Brilliant stuff to bring it to that 3-3 score.
That was a very strong push we saw from Momentum there. I think they played it right. You know, they could have tried to wait on that wall charge till power went down, just to give them that little bit of extra momentum. But again, this is a team that plays with very little actual momentum, and they are just capable of taking those wins with these slower, more controlled, more intentional pushes. You know, again, this was a very strong play from Momentum, and it went very well for them. Now, I didn't see any flares come out from Gnomes, which is interesting. Now, there was a flare change along with the shotgun changes this week, which made them so they last 135 seconds. That means they last the entire round if you throw them right at the start of execution, meaning you plan out where you want your flare to be, and that's where it's gonna be for the rest of the round. We could have seen a flare in no man's land, in office, or on the dock, and that could have really crippled that play, as they would have been able to see almost perfectly. Well, maybe not perfectly, but they would have been able to see compared to what we had where they pushed in and Gnomes was just unable to contest because they couldn't see the attackers.
Yeah, and it's not like they had much else there. They also overinvested some of those mollies early, and it meant that they had no proper way to deny a lot of those pushes. They gave up a lot of office control as well pretty easily, but then those smokes always can be such a problem. Sometimes you got to play more aggressive and try and contest it, and I think Gnomes may be feeling a little bit too pressured in the situation. But obviously, got a whole new, fresh set of maps. We're obviously going to be starting off here on Killhouse.
Now we're coming in on Killhouse. Looks like Gnomes is predicting a wall charge play. They're predicting a push through hallway, or push through lumberyard into hallway, and then wall charge into club. That could be a very strong push. It would basically allow them to get past the choke point that backstage is and have the advantage of taking club. If we look at Kitchen, Kitchen has double doors here. Double doors are actually a lot easier to push than the normal single doors, just on the fact that they're wider, and they're actually freely openable. You don't have to kick them down. So that makes it interesting. However, Momentum, they want to push office. They're just going to hard push office. They're going to take this little cubby here, which gives them all the wallbang potential that they need to just control the map. Again, this is Killhouse. Killhouse is the wallbang map. We're going to see wallbangs from both sides, and taking that cubby is a very powerful position, both in the sense that someone could be ratting in it with a shotgun, ready to get the flank on and just do a lot of damage, or you could put an attacker there, or even a defender there, and just have a panoramic wallbang spot. Very powerful. Looks like Momentum is slow walking to the office door.
We got to be sneaky. We don't want to get caught out here. And it seems to be the Momentum plan is getting ready to push straight on into office. Just cut out all the rubbish. Get rid of hallway, club, none of that. No backstage, no nothing. They're just going to go straight into office and execute onto kitchen here. But they're going to be very careful about those flanks. For the exact reasons you stated, someone could be ratting around and you don't want to get caught off guard, especially Control, who is oh so close. Breach goes on in. They're going to push straight on through Voxel. Well, he eats up a little bit of damage there, but does actually manage to take Index straight on back. However, this kitchen, even though they've gotten into it, is still going to be very difficult to push. You've got so many players playing back here. Voxel will not even get to finish off Knock here. Chris will be able to get that refrag, and now they push on through Control. Alt tries to get something here, and because of the positioning of this defuse button, they're able to get right on it. Med does get one, but there's the refrag. Brilliant stuff coming through here from Momentum and trying to push on in. Taron just doesn't have the time, and the bomb has been defused before he even gets to lay a scratch. And Momentum, they cut straight through most of the map and just got an easy execute on through.
I think that round really shows just why predicting the opponent's plan is so critical to playing the process. They were out of position for that plan. They were expecting a backstage or a lumberyard push, and they got neither. They were taken right from behind, and they had to rotate onto it. Control was the only hope they had that round, and he was only able to get, what, 2 kills, if that? And it just really didn't go their way. Now we're coming back into Dome. We're going to have to see, is our Gnomes able to come back and really start predicting these plays like they need to? They're now down. It's 4-3 Momentum. They need to pick up their game if they want to join DPL next season.
Absolutely. Got to be ever so careful. This is the first game of the best of 3 series, but you want to be able to take every single one you can. Start off strong and then carry on through. There's a reason, there's a meaning to the word momentum, but so far, having a really good execute there. I think something to keep in mind is, as well, is we're likely going to see a lot of that get patched up. Momentum are not likely to fall for in tricks. At least putting a barbed wire to stop a lot of that pushes would make that push so much easier to shut down. So keep in mind when we come back to that, you might see an entirely different round. But as we said before, coming back to this one, observation more central this time.
observation, not just the command room, it's the bomb room. You have to go in there, and it's dangerous to play in there. If you notice, there are these walls in here that are inside the room. Those have the same one-way cameras. If they try and push from pit, that's going to give the defenders the ability to pre-fire them. You just watch those cameras, see when they're pushing, and shoot as they push, or even better, peek them when they're out of position, peek them when they're prepping a flash, peek them when they're reloading, because you know all that information. They have to play back in pit or all the way back in this top section here, and even then, you kind of got line of sight on them. These screens don't work like TV screens. They work like windows. The closer you get, the wider your FOV, and you can look in from different angles. You know, unfortunately, true picture-in-picture is just a little bit too expensive to actually do.
Yeah, I mean, this game sometimes barely runs on my PC anyway, so I'm glad it's not doing anything too intensive. Yeah, it's got to be that little bit careful.
And it does look like Momentum has learned from Gnomes and is just doing another green push here first round. Got to teach these DPL players something if they want to stay in the game.
Absolutely. Razor, we want to kick things off. Control-Alt sitting in that pillbox. D-Day landing's coming on through here. Control-Alt will have to push off, doesn't want to get caught. That flash was a little bit too much for him. The pop flash is coming on through. Chris eats a lot of damage as he moves on through there, but Med and Index not able to take them down quite yet. Control right towards the back of that side is going to have to slip on back. Chris continuing to move on up, wants to try and contest into this observation, is the first one to lead, but the molly just completely catches him. Good call there by Index, and Razor tries to get some wallbangs, but doesn't find all too much. Still a lot of control over jungle here. Still getting ready to make that push. Macius denies that push out from Taran as he gets a little bit too big for his boots. Med gets the spray, a lot of damage onto Mirror, and even finishes off Voxel there. With Nog's backup, this could be big. Razor is trying to provide that extra line of play, but with Mirror and Macius pushing on in there, that was just so free for Gnomes to just clean on up. And well, Razor ain't long for this world against 4. It's an easy round for Gnomes.
Again, if you're going to push observation without flashbangs, you're going to get pre-fired, and you're probably going to die. You got to push all together. You don't want to just go in there one at a time, conga line in there, and let them just sit there with the Igmar and click on heads. You got to push, you got to flash, and they just were not able to pull that off, and that basically gave a free round to Gnomes. I mean, this was the free round. They didn't use any charges, but it did end up costing them, and it's now a tie game again, 4-4. Gnomes is in a good spot.
Yeah, I think it was a really good round for them on the whole. They shut down a lot of the pushes, and I think Momentum a little bit unsure of how to play Killdome. As you kind of said before, they're not exactly too experienced on it, so we can kind of cut them some slack on that one at the very least.
No, I mean, and my understanding of their experience could be a little different. I don't exactly see them online much, but that could just be a difference of time zones. Poland and Eastern U.S., bit different. So now we're coming in onto the C-store for this half. Operation Zulu Galahad. This is a pretty interesting C-store we have, because we have this shed up top, which is actually the entrance to the free door entrance and the arcade entrance. And that would allow, if Momentum were to choose one of those doors, it means that the defenders will just be able to open the other and shoot them in the back or create a flanking route. This is basically a mandatory split push, because if you don't, you're going to get flanked. But of course, it is a pretty easy one to do, is if you take arcade, you can then push freezer with support from bathroom, and then you get access to bomb. That would be the strong split push play, although it looks like Momentum, they want to go office, and they want to wall charge into tellers, which means we're probably going to see a player down front in storefront with the Saber, just picking off anyone playing storefront. And is really going to limit Gnomes to just playing up here in this back corner. And in Freezer, even Freezer's kind of risky. It does give them a little bit of bomb control, but they are going to be very funneled here. And if they try and play outside of those zones, they're going to get hit by the Saber unless they can really contest it. Gnomes, they haven't marked anything on the map. I don't know what they're planning to try and contest here. I don't even know. They haven't placed any barbed wire down. Oh, they have placed barbed wire down. Excuse me. They are predicting the office play. They have 2 barbs in office and another barb on Nog ready to be deployed at any moment.
I'm not sure how I feel about this office play. I feel like it could be a little bit of a problem here, but they're going for it. I think it's... I like they're at least going for something split at the very least.
we did see there Gnomes opened the shutters, which actually costs Momentum some time as they didn't want to expose themselves. It seems that is definitely a strat that we've seen in both DPL and Rivals, which is raising the shutters to try and counter a storefront push.
Does waste some time. So many players looking towards this. Index is the first to let out that fire, but doesn't find anything on a little bit of damage. Razor pushes on through, gets caught so much by the molly, but Macius with that breach charge does finish things up. Tarin does trade 1-for-1. It's actually Razor's the one who finishes off his own teammate, but frags back and forth. And Nog and Med are the only two remaining on this side for Gnomes. And Razor's going to push right on into them. Just one shot is all he needs. He pumps down Med. Now Nog doesn't know exactly where this push is coming. Razor is buying themselves some time. Likely making this push coming on through. Voxel expecting that push. Molly, Nog, does buy some time and the lights go out. Chris is now on the scene trying to bring that back up. Nog does not know that Chris is here. Does not know that push is going to come on through. The flash buys so much space. Razor plays towards the side of the bomb right now, but Nog is still looking out for it, playing in this back corner. Does not expect a corner, however, and Razor finishes him off. That's a round for Momentum. And a well-organized play. I like that they were doing two different kinds of pushes there and waiting for that window, those doors to open.
Yeah, wall opening the windows was initially huge for Gnomes. They probably thought they just had it in the bag from that because they got tons of damage from it. The wall charge right into Tellers not only gave them access to Tellers, but killed their button player. They couldn't close those windows, and that's what Momentum wanted. They wanted those windows open. And once they had Teller's control, they were able to exploit it like they had planned to, and it was just devastating. Again, we saw it come down to a player playing in the top corner and a player playing in Freezer, and they were picked off one by one. And it just led to another easy win for Momentum. Again, we have a very close game coming in here. We gotta see, Gnomes has to play a perfect game from here on out to win, and they need to win at least 2 to tie. So this is coming down to the wire.
Really especially because this is going to be a very different map right here, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, we're back on Operation Grind and Cause on the Kill House. Looks like Gnomes really likes the play that Momentum did, and they want to replicate it. Fortunately for them, Momentum is actually aware of how good that play is and is planning around it. We see 2 barbs go in as a direct counter to that play. We can even see both Momentum and Gnomes identifying this cubby here as the power position it is. It gives you the wall bangs onto bomb. It gives you the rat spot for office. It is such a hugely important spot on this map, and it looks so inconspicuous that a lot of people probably overlook it. But that is a huge place to play. You put your auto shotgun there, and they don't flash you out, you win. You put like a Gruber there, and he wallbangs, or Gruber or KR wallbang onto bomb, you win. You take that as an attacker and use your team's pings to wallbang the people playing in sight in these positions here that are just covered, you win. That's the place you need to play. It is so powerful, but it just doesn't look it. It really takes someone who has played the game as much as these teams have to identify that that is the power position that it is. I mean, we can see both these teams only concerned about office and kitchen. Those are the only 2 rooms that matter on this map. No markings anywhere else. The players playing over there are in positions to rotate immediately onto office if need be. I think this round's going to go Momentum. They have set up perfectly for it, and it's going to take a lot of good gunplay from Gnomes to take it.
Really well, they know that push is coming. You said before just how important it is to be able to read your opponent's movement and the way they're going to execute here. And read like a book. Page 1, there it is, that exact strat. They know that the play is coming. They're going to be easily able to take this little rat hole that we were talking about before and going to push on off Mirror, waiting for an opportunity to strike on into office here with backup from Voxel. Razor making a full rotate on through here. Doesn't want to try and contest this angle. Molly's by some time. Those barbed wires are still up. They're going to be difficult to push through. I don't think there are any HEs to be able to clear them out. So you got to be very careful here. If you're Gnomes, you know that you could easily get pigeonholed into this angle. Macius looking back at the box here, expecting someone to try and push on in. Razor bringing some backup. 2 players sitting in that rat hole. Keep an eye on what Med does here, as Chris just barely dodges out those shots, but Index brings back a second salvo. And even with Med spraying, Razor is going to have to back off here. Gets caught. Macius is going to have to come up big. Takes down 1. Looking for that next, but unfortunately just sprayed. Voxel and Mirror come in from the backside. Nog is holding the angle, however, and those they work against them, and it's just an easy defense coming on through there. I think investing way too much to that flank catches Momentum off guard.
Oh, 100%. Those flank players should have pushed way earlier. If they had pushed, they would have been able to catch the 2 players playing in the rat hole completely off guard. Again, that was actually a really, really bad push from Gnomes. They wasted all of their utility on the first room and then kind of just walked through 2 barbed wires under fire. They won that because of their gun skills alone and the fact that 2 Momentum players were way out of positions and had their timings way off. If they had pushed sooner, that round would have gone straight to Momentum's pocket.
And here, back on Dome.
We're coming back on Kill Dome.
This is a good defensive map as well, as we saw from Gnomes in that first version of this map. Will Momentum be able to bring that to bear here? That's the big question, because they've been struggling on some of these defenses at times.
Yeah, no, again, they definitely seem like their weaker map is Dome, and getting Dome in both halves is probably a huge disadvantage for them. Now, interestingly, I didn't catch it for sure, but it looked like as we were loading in, all the Gnomes players ended up dying at the end of that round, which means they lost Clacker.
I wonder how that happened. I mean, they must have shot each other, I assume. That's the only way they could have gone, right?
No. There was one Momentum player still alive who's playing in the rat hole.
Oh, yes.
Could have been able to pick them off.
We're getting notes that they didn't all die, which means they probably kept the Clacker.
All right. And
so they should be good.
It was just a visual bug with my game that said all the Gnomes players were dead.
Yeah, same.
Early access game, everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's bugs. Yes. Now, we're coming in. We're on this map. Gnomes, they look like they want to split push here. 3 to beach and 2 to that back area on jungle. This could be definitely a strong push. Now, something to note about observation. When you turn off power, all the screens go dark. You no longer get the power of observation. They probably want to take power here because it means that they can push observation a whole hell of a lot easier. Which is why they're probably sending that push in the back. But it does look like Momentum has some guns pointed at that door. So this beach push is going to have to look convincing.
Really is, and we've not seen super successful beach pushes. But, I mean, if anyone's going to be able to do it, is Gnome with these, as you said, great gun skills to be able to win these out. It's looking like a split push from them, however. Smoke goes right on in. And if you look, pretty much everyone is focusing on this bottom side, expecting that push. They probably heard some footsteps, and they do still have Mirror and Macius kind of on that angle, but Control Elite completely destroys Chris to start things off. Voxel waiting in this little cheeky position up here, might be able to catch someone off guard. I wonder if Control Elite will notice if they're there. They're hiding behind that little pole. Macius has to be careful here. Does get flashed out, and the HE lands as well. Voxel comes up with 1, but Index clears them out. Razor being that final remaining player, and this is just not looking good right now for Momentum, especially because Med just straight up wins that duel. And it absolutely was that. Momentum just taking, Gnomes just taking duel after duel after duel and winning every single one.
Yeah. Again, I think it really comes down to Gnomes understands this map. They've played on it enough to read the map and see the angles. Momentum hasn't. They don't know where to be putting their crosshairs, and that's costing them these aim duels, which we see them winning and being pretty close to equals in the other maps. Again, if anything's costing Momentum this game, it's probably Kill Dome.
Yeah, it's been a real problem for them. Those next games in the series are going to really hinge, I feel, on whether we get Kill Dome in those maps.
For sure. We're coming in here on this is it the last round? Yes, it would be the last round of this game. Gosh, don't know where my head is here. Momentum has to win this round in order to tie. Otherwise, the first game of the series goes to Gnomes.
And it'd be a great start for our rivals team as well to be hitting up this first game, taking it. I mean, it's definitely been a close game so far, so keep that in mind, but it'd be such a great position to find themselves in, and they're absolutely rolling this attacking half right now. It really does seem like we were talking about before how aggressive they are. They can leverage that fantastically, and I don't think Momentum are quite able to shut them down in that same way. It might be those mismatches of styles that we were talking about.
For sure. we're coming back in on Operation Zulu Galahad. We're gonna have to see how Gnomes wants to take this, and it looks like they want to double charge. Do they even have that? No, they don't. They're gonna just single charge storefront. That could be huge. Interesting. They're either worried about a potential wallbang spot from bathroom onto bomb, or they want to send someone there. That is the free door, and they don't even have to enter. They can just get up on to this this dumpster in the back here and look in through the window. And we see that Momentum is aware of that and probably gonna play around it and not have someone sitting there because they can just get caught way out. They see Gnomes does have 2 spots they've marked on storefront. They either want to go dead center and just send it, or they kind of want to take this door right next to it and have that kind of angle to counter any pushes. The only real risk they could see from that is probably the teller's door opening, which it won't because there's going to be barbed wire on it, which means you can't really peek that angle. They don't know that, though, so that is definitely a risk they're concerned about. And a shotgun player, which we already see a shotgun player in office, just immediately quick peeking that angle and getting a pick or two. That could be devastating. But it does look like we're coming in to this round, and Gnomes are going to wall charge storefront. And I don't think Momentum's really prepared for this. They're setting up in the storefront rather than around it, and that's not where you want to play.
Razor's going to be a key player for this, and Chris just really isn't in the right angle. This auto shotty is really difficult to play in a lot of these positions, and I think, honestly, in this game, he's going to be completely cut off from any of the relevant positions here. Nog should be able to set things up with a little bit of backup, and they should be able to make that execute on through here, but it's going to be difficult to say at the very least. Couple of smokes here. Couple of flashes as well should allow them to easily get those executes on in, but not a lot of angles to be able to get the right place for the right smoke. Especially with Mirror just playing in this position just above. Knows that this office is going to be a key position for the rest of this map. Especially with that breach charge going through early on here. Voxel with that knack at the long range, it's not going to be ever so strong. The Gruber for Razor could be an all-important position here, and the fact that Mirror finds nothing is brutal. They've already pushed on through. Maxius finds one. Can he take down Taran here? This is going to be key. Tellers is in their control, and Med and Index are pushing on up, and the auto shot doesn't find anything. Razor falls too, and it's just Voxel versus the world. 1 versus 3. Gnomes are looking to lock it out here. Voxel has to come up big. With the knack, you can definitely get those big multi-man spray downs, but when your position is given away like that, it just ain't happening. The molly is too little too late. And with 45 seconds on the clock, that is Gnomes round and a half as they're going to be able to take the bomb here. Pick up game 1. And in this series, taking themselves to 1-0.
I know. If they can keep up this kind of gameplay, this is going to be a really good game. Like, that was amazing to watch. It was so close. It came down to the wire on a number of those rounds. Really, really just a powerful play from both teams there.
Yeah, it feels like those defenses can be a little bit awkward for Momentum sometimes when they're not controlling the tempo of the rounds. Things don't work out so well for them. And Killdome, that's been the real kicker for them. They actually did manage to pick up 1 win on it, but it's not been their map so far. And I think, as we said before, it's going to be a real problem for them.
Oh, yeah. The only rounds they lost on attack were Killdome maps. The only rounds that Gnomes were able to win defenses were Killdome maps. Those are huge.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have to see Momentum maybe step up, get a little bit lucky in terms of those map draws, and go back to the standard stuff if they're going to be able to pick up these wins here. But right now, we are going to be going to a short break while we get ready for that second map of the series. Don't go anywhere, because more DPL promotion tournament will be coming right your way. Hello, everyone, and
Welcome.
welcome back to the DPL promotion tournament, brought to you by myself and Red Commissar as
Hello.
Momentum versus Gnome. 1-0 up now to Gnome, the team coming up from rivals, and with a pretty close game one, right?
That was an insane game one. We saw it go 7-5. Again, one more round for momentum. That would have been a tie game. That's about as close as you can get for a win.
It really is. And the Gnome Dome, that was their Achilles heel, wasn't it?
Yeah, no. Gnomes didn't win that round or win that game. Momentum lost on Dome. That's really what it is. They just don't have the experience like Gnomes does on the Dome, and it's the Gnome Dome. They're just able to go in and really punish Momentum there for just not getting the experience on the new map. This is probably why a lot of leagues will not play new maps when they come out for games. It's just because the players don't have the time to get the experience on them. But I mean, it really shows that when you put in the time and effort and you get the work in like the Gnomes has, it's rewarding and you're able to punish the teams that don't.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, that and maybe some bugs, but here at Due Process, we don't have bugs, do we?
Bugs are just features that haven't been discovered yet.
Absolutely. But yeah, starting off with a 7-5 win, Gnomes really making a statement. They're looking to go up to DPL, and this aggression for them has been absolutely fantastic so far, especially, as you said, on that kill dome. Now, if we see kind of changes up, how do you feel about momentum having to do with maps that obviously aren't kill dome if we're going to have a more old school style rotation?
I think we really saw that if we get the kill house, the factory, and the C store in a rotation, I think we're really going to see Momentum do really well on that half. Um, those are the maps they know; those are their bread and butter. And whilst gnomes are really good at contesting them there, um, Momentum is just a very strong team there. We saw a lot of the rounds that the only rounds that Gnomes were able to win on defense were Kill Dome rounds. If they don't have Kill Dome, they might not be able to take any defense rounds, and that means that the best they can do is tie, and they have to play two perfect attack halves. If they don't get a dome, they might lose. They might not be able to take anything on defense, and that would be so bad for them. I mean, interestingly, we got some stats from the last game. Index was able to come in and get a 2.0 KD. He went 12 and 6. He got 3 of the opening kills. I think we know who the entry fragger on Gnomes is.
Oh, we absolutely do. Index has been absolutely huge and has brought a lot of value to the team. But we are actually underway round. I realize it's not on your screen right now, but we are on I believe Kill House. Yeah, it is going to be Kill House to kick things off with a very large lumberyard and with lockers situated with that bomb on in Valhalla Odysseus, if any of you can remember that off the top of your very heads. But so far, pretty slow start for Momentum. So not pushing onto Club right yet, but they are getting ready to make that execute happen as they've also got a split push towards that right-hand side to push in from the top, to push in via lumberyard. As the smoke goes in multiple places here to cut out a lot of these key positions, but Index has still managed to hold. Razor pushes on through. Can they take down Nook here? They do manage to finish him off, and that dogged tenacity buys them that little bit of space. The refrag comes on in, and the smokes have dissipated. The molly means now that the axe can come on in. The flashes are not there, and Index is just finding so much. Med with the backup. 2 players rush on in, get cut on down, and Momentum seem to be completely bereft of their namesake here. Voxel and Macius just stuck at this door trying to push on in, and they can't even get rid of Index. You said before with the 2.0 KDA, they're adding to it time after time. Peaks out a little bit wide there as the HE forces them forward, but it's still a 2 versus 3 in a very difficult position because one of these players is already very low on that attacking side. I think it's Voxel who is just got so little. Just one flash ready here for Macius, and they've got to make it count. That flash is going to be thrown on in, and they're going to have to deal with Control, who's just waiting in the wings on lockers here. You see Index getting ready, trying to highlight where they're going to need to push through, but as they execute, there it is! And Control denies them any sort of push onto that bomb site as lockers. There's no way you're getting on in there.
That's why Control is scary with shotguns. The man can just make plays happen with them. It is very impressive to watch him play. But even if he was unable to get those picks, we saw a player playing off into the rooms on either side of it, ready to get the wall bangs in. They weren't going to get affected by flashbangs, and they could hold bomb down pretty damn hard. that round was a very good defense from Gnomes, even if we only saw a little bit of it. Sounds like we're going on to Kill Dome next. I can already hear the
You
crowd.
could always hear the crowd, the rapturous applause, everything leading on into the Gnome Dome. And it does look like we're going to have Dome in every single one of this. This could be a 2-0 for Gnomes here, purely based off these map picks. Momentum are under pressure now. They don't want to get relegated to Rivals.
No, Momentum dropping down to Rivals is something they want to stop. If Gnomes is able to take this game, they're going to DPL. Momentum's down to Rivals. It's going to be an interesting experience for everyone involved. You know, especially... No. I mean, if Gnomes is able to get into DPL, we're really going to see some changes up, because that's going to be two Rivals teams, the top two Rivals teams, getting into DPL. And both these teams, they just play so radically different from a lot of the DPL teams that I think we're really going to see some shifts in just how it gets played up there. It's definitely going to be very interesting. Now, we're coming in on our Dome map, Operation Trumpet Force. It looks like Gnomes is predicting a push onto Ruins, which is actually what it looks like Momentum wants to do. Although they're also a little concerned. They're a little concerned about everything. But the only thing they've really marked barbs for is the push onto Ruins. But the barb mark they have there is also going to prevent them from using a line of sight that they have marked, which allows them to shoot onto the beach as the attackers are coming over that parapet. The round's getting underway, and it looks like it's just going to be a solid one push through the ruins door just to take the map and take bomb. This could be really powerful for Momentum if they can pull it off. We could see them turning the Gnomes Dome into the Momentum Dome, I suppose.
Or an absolute bloodbath on either way this goes, because keep in mind that Gnomes, as you said before, have kept an eye on this position. They know it's coming. Med is watching it. You got Nog really nearby. It's not like Index can't do anything from this position. He has got sightline after sightline if he can get into the correct spot here. So keep that in mind. They're just going to go straight on him, barreling through. The shots do ring out, but they don't have those automatic weapons to try and deny that, and the mollies aren't quick enough. Nog tries to hold back. Mirror takes a lot of damage, does eventually fall, but they would have forced Nog off here, and no one makes it through.
Nog,
that was a disaster. They
the
just get
KR
cut down.
The KR is a brutal weapon, and I think we just saw it here. Unfortunately for Nog, his ace was in fact stolen by Index. But that 4K was beautiful. Momentum went from existing to not existing in, God, was it even 5 seconds?
I don't even know. It was just like that. I literally didn't notice it because all the names are clumped up on each other. I was watching the fight above and everyone just disappeared. I saw the kill feed light up and Gnomes just tear apart Momentum. They fall over each other, honestly, as the bodies hit the floor. They land on top of each other, and it is already 2-0 to Gnomes. They are absolutely in control of this right now, and Momentum need to do something to change this ASAP.
No, it's 2-0. Momentum's coming in on C-Store. We're unaware of what they did the first round. I would guess green charge. If we check the van, they do seem to not have any clackers whatsoever. So that means they did charge the first round. Therefore, screen door. If Gnomes knows this, it's gonna be scary. It actually looks like I believe they know this, but they've circled the teller door. I think that's not because they think Momentum's gonna push there. I think we're gonna see some interesting plays coming around that teller's door because they are concerned about that window. If you have a player playing in tellers, opening that red door, popping out real quick to shoot whoever is playing the window would be a very powerful play. Even if it's just for some quick damage, you know, open the door, get some chip damage in, fall back, place barbed wire, you'd be set. Now, if I was Momentum and I was even considering that getting the teller open to my side or getting the red door to my side open and then getting shot on the side was a factor, which, let's be honest, not a lot of people consider that as even a possibility, even when they know it's a possibility. But if they were, you would probably want to play a bit further back, which forces the defender to push out more, risking that even if they are able to get the chip damage in, they're going to get droned on their way back.
Yeah, you gotta be oh so careful. I do like that they're trying to play this, but that run out is absolutely terrifying. And note that Gnome are also prepared for if they lose control of that run out position.
Yeah. It is definitely a concern. It does look like they are watching the window more than they're watching the door, though.
Yeah, door opens. Med gets out of there just about in time, and Chris starting to play that angle. Med with a clean shot onto Mirror as he just goes straight on down. A good HE to try and open things up as Chris is bringing that pain. Voxel pushes on in, pushes through the molly, and wins the duel against Control there. That means they completely take control of Teller, but obviously there is going to be a lot set up to try and deny that push into bathroom, and if they make that push happen, it is going to be disaster. Razor rushes to his own death as Index pushes them down and completely denies that push there. Taran just waiting in the toilet, ready to give them a little bit of a nasty surprise, but I think very sensibly here, soon as they saw any of those barbed wires, they decided, right, we got to push somewhere else. We got to go for another angle here. And Macius is already looking towards that office from storage.
I know. We can see Momentum playing very far apart, risking that they'll get picked off one by one. You do not want to... You always want to have a battle buddy in due process in most situations, just because the defenders really need those extra guns, and the attackers get such an advantage from that health pool.
Yeah, Voxel is getting ready to execute. Open up storage here, make sure no one's there, no one's going to catch them off guard, and the play likely to follow soon. Index just waiting around that corner, likely going to get flashed out the molly to cover the flank to make sure. There they go, the flares, the everything. Voxel just guns him down. Nog big with that auto shotty. If he gets off another play, no. Voxel silences him. Taran with the Kruber trying to move on in here, trying to get something down, but Macius landing shots left, right, and center. Chris has to be careful here. Luckily, they just about stop him. As much as Chris finishes Macius, finishes the defuse as well, and they do pick up that round. A necessary one for Momentum there because things were looking dicey.
Yeah, no. Definitely, I think for Gnomes, the loss really came when they were unable to hold tellers properly, or they didn't even have to hold tellers. It was just the loss of both Med and Control and tellers was unnecessary and unfortunate. If they were able to keep one of those players alive, I think we would have seen that round play out differently.
Mm-hmm. It would have been massively different, but they ceded so much early on and tried, I think, to trade that a little bit too aggressively. Need to see them tone back some of that aggression earlier on in these defensive rounds.
Still, Momentum, their strong side is attack, and they were only able to get one round in. Now we have Gnomes on attack. Gnomes' strong side is also attack. And Momentum has a very weak defense. We could honestly see this game end before we get even to the fourth set. And
pretty good. This could be a straight set here for Gnome. They could easily get 3 rounds.
Yeah, no. If they're able to get the next, what is it? 5 rounds? Yeah, they're able to get the next 5 rounds, which are entirely possible. This game's over, 7-1. Series goes to Gnomes. Momentum's really got to show that they can play both sides of the map. Gnomes seem a little unsure about what they want to do. They definitely want to go Lumberyard, but they're trying to figure out how to split it and where to go from there. Momentum, unsure of what's going to occur. They have 1 barbed wire down for kitchen, for the lumber to kitchen, but who knows where that's really going to go here. Now, so an interesting thing you could do on this map in this situation, if I was Gnomes and I know I want to send 2 kitchen and 2 backstage, then I could put 1 by the kitchen red door. Now, while you can't shotgun open kitchen or red doors from great distance anymore, the red doors are only considered thick, which means every single attacker weapon except the pistol can penetrate it. If you were to place an attacker out there with an AP or a black tar, and your team was giving you pings on who was shooting them, you could just shoot them in the back. All the cover is exposed to that red door.
That's a really good strat. I like that. I mean, obviously you don't get the vision of a window, but you still can just spray through it, as you say. I think it's a really good call, but I also like that maybe we're going to see things a little bit more simply, pushing towards this lumber yard and not trying to go through this door that we saw was such a problem for Momentum earlier. Trying to play that split push style, because I think this is the map where that's going to be really important.
Oh yeah, for sure. They definitely switched it from a 2 backstage to kitchen to a 3 backstage to kitchen, so that's probably the stronger play, as we're seeing more defense set up in kitchen.
Yeah. Kitchen already completely damned by the defending side. Don't want to try and contest that too much. Don't want to lose too many players, but Voxel gets a lot of damage through the wall, takes down control to kick things off. Backstage is going to be that all-important position, but Razor, they knew he was there, and as much as Mirror finds that little scratch of damage, it's going to be Macius in that position. Index was in, taking so much damage and finishing off their opposing number. Med is still alive on that backstage position. Taran is completely gummed up. Too many barbed wires for them to effectively push through here. And as you said, you want to be playing as a duo. You want to be having your battle buddy. Always remember the rule of two, stick together. Hold your partner's hand when you're going out on that field trip, because you're gonna need to be ready to refrag each other. And there just wasn't that backup in some of these situations. Taran wasn't able to do this, has to invest in utility, but the molly still buys some time. They're slowed down quite significantly. Voxel and Macy are still holding off Med on this left-hand side, and Taran just cannot enter here, as Chris is denying them so much. As a flash, and Med and Taran are starting to rejoin back up, starting to play together, and this is going to be necessary here. Flash goes in, Chris is getting pushed, does go down. The shotgun is a little bit too much of them, as they do get completely surmounted there. Another flash getting ready to go on in if they can find one, but otherwise they're going to really struggle to push on in here. But completely ceded control here, didn't want to go for that at all. Mirror, Macius, and Voxel all got the ability to try and go for the play. There's the molly, they trade one for one. Med knows they've got to make it happen, trying to stick on it, but there's the wall bang, and momentum play to kill House's strengths.
Yeah, even if we didn't see Gnomes, if Gnomes weren't able to take that round, we did see those last two players really do a good job of expending the defenders' not only utility but ammo. We saw the Gruber basically expend all of its ammo, and the Igmar expend a lot of ammo there. That could really hurt them later on in the round when they need those guns again. So even though they're able to retain those pieces of equipment, how much ammo they have left in them is questionable. And we did see, I believe it was Med who used the frag grenade to clear the wire. You know, that was definitely a good advantage. It allowed them to push in. It allowed them to really take that room and have a chance of winning. But it also means that if he were to be killed, that frag grenade would not end up in the hands of the defenders, which is a huge misplay for any team. If that frag ends up in the defenders' hands, that could be devastating. A well-placed frag can wipe an entire team.
Now, speaking of entire team wipes, we're back here on Dome. Do you expect to see something like that kind of execute happen again? And do you expect it to fall so flat on its face here on Trumpet Force?
I mean, we already see that Momentum is predicting Barb in that spot. They have that door circled, and we see, or no, not Momentum predicting Barb. Momentum's placing Barb. Gnomes has predicted Barb, but they haven't predicted all of the Barb. There's definitely the side flank that could really crush them here. I mean, they saw just how fast Momentum was deleted. I can't imagine they go there, but maybe they're thinking that because Momentum got deleted so fast there, Momentum's not even going to watch it because it was just so bad for them. But it does look like Momentum is setting up to really play Ruins here and really try and stop a Ruins push. It could be very powerful. Observation. Honestly, I'm looking at this map. While Observation doesn't seem like a good push, it's the furthest door from the bomb. It does give you a lot of power. You can take Pit really easy. You can help your team if they're also pushing Beach. And if you take Pit, you get power. And you're able to go around the glowing water. Don't know what's in there, but apparently it glows. Probably wouldn't drink it.
I as a child, I accidentally got glow stick juice in my eyes. That's why I have such bad eyesight. Wouldn't suggest putting it anywhere near any sort of ingestion. So be careful about that, kids. Don't eat glow sticks at home. Terrible idea. Now, coming back round, they've got two players towards this bottom side if we do see that observation push, but it looks like it's actually be more that beach push.
Yeah. If 3 players on beach, they got good smokes out for it. It's going to be really hard to counter that, although they do have the line of sight from the Ruins.
We do have a couple of different angles. Chris is going to call out some info. They're going to start to rotate, being careful about those angles, knowing that Index could be a bit of a problem towards jungle. They're already sending shots down onto Mirror here, using that bomb as defense, and now pinned that little bit more. Can't necessarily exert that same amount of pressure on this push into Ruins. 2 players waiting there as they have opened it up. Chris is definitely watching, making sure that XD doesn't come, already slipping on through control. Takes a lot of damage. Voxel doesn't expect him to be this close, and Index is the first to find a frag there. Razor way too far forward. Chris is going to have to come up big here and deny these 2 pushes. Some lone members on Gnomes, but there's only 2. No 1, no none! here for Momentum as they are completely routed, and that was just a brilliant set of plays from Gnomes with the split push coming on in.
What can we expect from the Gnome Dome? Now, interestingly, we did see Razor using an interesting feature of Dome, where a lot of the walls are actually windows. So now, while he couldn't see onto the beach, he could get a really nasty angle through those windows and see when Gnomes was peeking, so he could push up and peek. You can basically put your crosshair right on their head and just strafe right into the position, shoot them in the head. It was very powerful, but unfortunately he was just unable to utilize it, probably because he was using a KR. The KR is a devastating weapon at close to medium range. That's definitely long range. You needed Allegros, an Igmar, or a Mop to really make good use of it.
They might not have been expecting that beach push. I mean, I actually think it's a really great opportunity to try and go for that split push, because obviously then you don't have to invest 2 of those breach charges. It makes things that little bit cheaper on the economy, and obviously we do still have 1 round left in this map rotation.
Oh yeah, no, we're coming in. If Gnomes is able to get another round here, that's going to put them in a really strong spot for the rest of this game. And it's C-Store. C-Store attack generally goes well. We'll have to see if Momentum's able to really put up a Starwolf defense that they need to stop this push. Although, interestingly, we do get an office bomb on this map. Operation Paladin Supremacy. Immediately, Control is marking the potential wall charge spot they have, because they have yet to use their wall charge, and they still have the Clacker for it. In fact, they do have a door charge and a wall charge, which could just allow them for some huge plays here. We could see if they did want a double charge, they could see the tellers to bomb. That would be very strong, but that does leave them in a lot of choke points. You're effectively pushing through 3 choke points to get that, because you're pushing through the choke point into the bomb, the choke point from bathroom, and the choke point in tellers. They're getting barbed, they're getting watched. But you could breach tellers and then take storefront fairly easily and then wall charge onto bomb. Although, interestingly, it does look like it's going to be a pure green take. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like if you were to split storefront here, that would be a lot of power. They look like they maybe want to blow one of the storefront shutters with their door charge in order to get that line of sight. I think it's just better to breach into the tellers itself. That is a huge take. You do that, you push in, you get onto bomb with the wall charge. This could be really huge for them if they're able to execute it well. And they have circled that teller door. I think we could expect the double, it's gotta be a double charge. It's just I think we're gonna get the split push here from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it means if you take Teller, you only have to deal with Freezer as you're pushing in to put that wall charge down. And you obviously want to secure yourself a lot of space here, because otherwise things could be a little difficult. And it looks like already splitting up, probably going to have someone potentially getting ready to play that window, as well as Taran does have a little time to play with, making sure that storefront is pretty clear early on here.
You really don't want to push into that storefront, but you also don't, if it's being contested, but you don't want to really have to fight too much in there.
Yeah, look at this angle for Voxel. That could be big. Mirror actually pushes off of it, doesn't want to contest it too much. But you got to be careful. Voxel's still ready and waiting, looking for that spray down. Taran will open things up with the backup of Nog and pushes straight on in. Chris isn't there at all. They're going to open up things, and now you can see Voxel just can't hold that angle. They don't have the same amount of control, and even he goes down as Index just with those long ranges. He reigns supreme. 2.0 in the previous game, and I mean they are continuing with a dominant performance here. Macias continuing to hold this angle, making sure that they can't push to take control of storage, and then things will really start to fall apart for Momentum here. They need to get these frags. The flash goes in. I don't think Mirror got affected by that, and the push from Control is too much. It goes down. Macias is overwhelmed. They're swarmed. Razor gets the barbed wire down in time, but it's going to have to come up big here. They're going to open things up, and Razor is getting ready to try and sweep a good molly, but Razor's getting wallbanged to heck here. Chris has to come up big, but there's too many players, not enough time, and the defuse is going to come on through here. 4-2, and Gnomes are heading into the second half of the second game, 1-0 up, and in such a control of this game. 4-2.
4-2, very powerful position for Gnomes. We really saw Razor with that auto shotgun. He was ready to hold one of those doors. He was not ready to hold both of them. He had the Molotov prepped for the wall charge, and he had the barbed wire ready for the storage push. He could hold one of those angles really well. He might have been able to have stopped a push But just unfortunate for him, Gnomes wanted to do that wonderful split push we saw that just left them with nothing to work with. So brutal, so powerful. Really good round for Gnomes there.
Yeah, I was really impressed. They continually like show up with great attack and put a lot of pressure on, make things so difficult, especially because they're saving a lot of that utility. They're getting a lot of success without all too much.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, this is the collision between Rivals and DPL, and I think we're seeing that top Rivals might be better than bottom DPL here. And again, Momentum isn't even necessarily bottom DPL. They just had a rough start, and by the end of it, they were a top contender. They were just stuck in that bottom position due to a poor early starting.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right, is that there's a lot of strong teams in Rivals. They just haven't had their opportunity to show up here. And I mean, Gnomes are proving that in spades. Momentum just haven't been able to handle them in the right way.
For sure. Yeah, we're on the factory map for this half. We're on Operation Olympus Atlas. Coming in, looks like Gnomes. Gnomes might be considering a double charge, or not a double charge here, but a wall charge round one, through Toxic into Office. That is an interesting play.
Love it. I really think it's a good idea here. It brings you a lot. The only problem is that is a little bit of a difficulty when it comes to pushing on in via their chokes. You know there's going to be players on Office.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be players Office, but will they be ready for it? Especially because they have the line from Fan contesting that Office. If the Office people are watching the Fan, they're probably not going to be watching the potential walls charge. They'll probably be watching the entry from Docks or the entry from Storage. Usually they'll probably be watching the entry from Storage because they'll hear the green kick, but they won't be ready for that wall charge.
They really won't be. I'd be so surprised if they're able to pick this up. Momentum have got to play this perfectly. They are not expecting this. They don't have anyone toxic as far as I can tell. Sometimes a little bit. Okay, Chris is playing there. This could be an important position to hold. Actually, no, wait. Is he down on the floor? Yeah, he's down on the floor. No. Razor will bring something to the fore here, but it's still going to be very difficult for them to properly contest that. So keep an eye on exactly how quickly this toxic falls, because it's going to quickly lead into this push. And if Chris doesn't find something from his now position looking towards toxic, things are going to be very quickly bad. There's going to be a player on Fan here, know where Nog is, so he's going to provide that extra utility. Already these barbed wires invested, so many angles being held by Gnomes, getting ready to make that push. They have it ready. Are they going to bring it on through here?
It actually looks like they might not have taken the wall charge. They might have abandoned that play.
Oh, that's a bit of a shock. That would have been perfect, though.
Yeah. They would have been able to just waltz right in there.
Yeah, they're just going to push on in here with a lot of utility in their way. Nog does claim that first player, but there's still two in this angle. Mira playing back at Doc is under a lot of pressure right now, has to be careful. Razor tries to play in that cheeky little angle, but is easily flushed on out. 3 players on the floor. Mira will take him down. Now, has to be that all-important player. You know that flank is coming from Control here, but isn't expecting it, turns towards him. Trying to win out that duel, doesn't quite get the shots, unfortunately. Still trying to finish them off. Macius comes up big, and Mira doesn't hold Doc. The 2 players in this position now going to be key, and now there's only 1, and now there is 0. Med cleans it up. It's an easy round for them, and Gnomes are just 2 rounds away from victory here, and 2 rounds away from DPL qualification.
This was an amazing push from them. Well, it would have been great to have seen that wall charge. That eco push, they really just took it slow and were just able to pick the defenders off one by one, keeping most of their health pool up, and it was just devastating for them at the end. We saw it was Chris and Macius just at the end there who just got pushed. They had to fight from 2 different angles, or even 3 angles where they were getting shot from, and Med just came behind them, and they were unable to stop that.
It was so difficult. Even without the surprise play, they just didn't have anything. They lost a player to Noga early, and then the push in via the more main areas, they just couldn't quash it all. And when Med executes like that, the flashes are in the right place. It doesn't matter that you've got all those barbed wires. It just didn't work for you.
I mean, we saw early on, we saw Razor holding what could have been a really devastating position, but it just got called and he was wall banged away. Just immediately. And that's unfortunate, but you really got to look at these positions and say, you know, how predictable is this spot? Am I just going to get wall banged out of it? And I don't think he asked himself that. If he wasn't wall banged, he could have done a lot of damage, but he was. Now we're on Operation Liberty Thor, a courtyard kill house. Courtyard kill houses are fun because of all the interior windows you get, which just allow for lines of sight just everywhere. This is definitely a fun one to play, in my opinion. You can, as a defender, play down here at this bottom with a long gun and kind of shoot into the office, and that's a really good way to hold office without even having to worry about flashbangs for much. From club, you can hold bomb. Club is really critical to take on this map, which is, I think, why we're seeing Gnomes want to push club. Club allows them to take office a lot easier and allow them to take bomb a lot easier. We're probably going to see a lot of momentum once club gets taken, playing either in this entryway here, this just choke point they have here created by the brick of lockers, or playing up in the back areas of brick house. Because otherwise, there's not a lot of safe spots for them.
Yeah, that's what courtyard always brings. It's such a problem when you're playing these defensive, and obviously on the offense as well. If you're not careful, you can easily get flanked from those angles. But I mean, especially I think when you get a lot of map control purely from playing the attack and push on forward with some good flashbangs, it can really lead to players getting flushed out and then caught out. So I think if you're a momentum here, you just got to do that due diligence. And I think as a team who are slow and purposeful, that's something they've been historically quite good at.
Oh yeah, no. When it comes to like getting flashed out, you know, when you play the windows as a defender, you don't get flashed out because you're so far away. But at the same time, it sets a risk because it is really a telegraphed position, which the attackers are likely watching.
They're going to get that pretty far if you're not careful. You have to be prepared. Macius and Chris playing this closer angle, expecting some kind of push to come on through, but those barbed wires are going to buy them a decent amount of time. The shots are just being exchanged left, right, and center. Neither team wanting to commit too much, but Chris does find that first frag, pushes forwards, interestingly here, through the flashes, does actually survive for a time, and Macius even comes up with just that little bit more. Index must be feeling pretty bad about the fact that he took out one of his players there, and now it's just down to one as Nog is that only remaining player. And honestly, if I'm them here, maybe even just save this weapon, because I think it might be more useful in maybe that final round. And you're not winning this. This is so difficult here. It's 4 players all playing these different angles and not a lot of utility. I think it's just the right call.
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely for him, he's just in a position where saving that's better. I believe even, yeah, he's not recovered the clacker. One of those bodies in there has the clacker. That would be the only thing that could make this better because he's probably not going to win these fights. And the bodies aren't actually being watched that much. He could push. Honestly, the body with the clacker is Index, and that is one that is probably easy to get to, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't know they're not watching it. I mean, they are, but just not watching it close enough to be able to stop him.
There's also some barbed wires. That's the other thing as well. You've got to be really careful about that.
Yeah, if he can just slow walk up there, he might be in a good spot. But definitely saving here is the optimal position.
He was trying to look for some extra frags there, take down Razor maybe, but with that shot, you can see Voxel hightailing over. He's like, I smell blood. But unfortunately, Nog is already at that position. And I think Gnomes making the sensible choice here and proves that even though they are this rival squad, they are a mature team. They know that these are going to be relevant things to the later game. Saving that weapon makes a big difference and could help them in the upcoming round.
Defender is not recovering the clacker, though it is definitely lost for the attackers. You know, Gnomes really had the rounds to lose there. They're up so high that if it means that they're gonna win later rounds, they should take the loss here. Rather than take a loss here and a loss then.
And they've got a lot of room to play with as well. They're still 2 rounds up. There's a lot of more rounds left in this game. And even if they lose this game, they've got a lot to work with. Gnomes can play the slower pace game. Momentum are the ones who have their backs up against the wall. They are on elimination point. Gnomes are absolutely rolling it. They are like 2 rounds away from making DPL. They've been working so hard towards this for the past couple of months. And, well, we're back to Kill Dome. The Gnome Dome is back on the menu. And there are 2 more domes on the field. You have to win one of these if you're momentum here, and that might be the Herculean task that they're gonna have to complete here.
I mean, in order to win, Momentum needs to play a perfect game. And again, Gnomes likes their attack rounds. This is where they want to win. If they can get to round 6 here, they probably feel pretty confident about winning on Dome on defense. After all, we saw that last game, the only rounds they won defense were those Gnome Domes. Just with some brutal plays too. It does look like the Gnomes are in fact looking to breach ruins here and then just kind of take jungle. If Momentum isn't watching that, isn't barbing it, isn't ready to counter that, is just can't put it down, they're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah, they've got to be very careful because we know this could be just such an easy shutout for Gnome. They've shown that they can just collapse on people, especially on these Kill Dome maps.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like they're even prepping for it. We see 3 wires go down. None of them are on the ruins entrance. They're trying to shut down the push from pit. They're worried about power. They're trying to shut down the push from castle. They're worried about beach. What they're not worried about? The push from behind them. The push from jungle, from the ruins. Now, the Gnomes, I believe, do they also still have their wall charge? Because if they do have a wall charge here, we could see a double charge.
I'm trying to have a look. It's not on the wall. Yeah, they're carrying it. They do still have their wall charge.
Interesting. They might not have any door charges left, so they might be using it for that. Or they might blow both these doors, as red doors on Dome are actually 2 doors, and very annoyingly, 1 charge only blows up 1 door.
They don't have any door charges.
And they don't appear to be going.
Oh, does he? Sorry, I thought that Nogs was a clacker for a second there. But he does have a charge, so they are going to be able to open up that for bottom wall and open up pit entirely. So this could be a good push here for Gnomes.
Gnomes are going to wall charge from pit onto bomb.
That's a great call.
This could
if they can get the players there, though, that's the other thing, right?
Yeah, they have to get there. But if they get power off and they get the wall charge down, this could be very good for them. That's going to put them to 6-3, meaning the worst they can do is tie.
Yeah, and as we said before, Momentum going to have to win a dome to be able to pick up this W Nog. It's going to clack open that position. Not exactly where they circled, just a little bit to the right, but still a very strong position to have control of here. They're going to open it, and instantly those flashes are going to go on. So is ready and waiting. There it is. Mira and Chris are now. Oh no, they know it's coming. The molly is there for Mira to try and buy some time. Trades back and forth as Taran falls into the pit. Unfortunately, gets caught off guard there. But there they are. The frags from Momentum are coming up big. There's just one left, and now it's just Med to push on in here. And with a rifle like that, doesn't look so. Well, good for them, to be completely honest. Does have a flash to work with, but these angles are still difficult, especially with Chris just pushing them on every single one of these. 35 seconds on the clock, and Gnome, it's got to be the 1v4 clutch to pick this up. There's no point in saving here, so Med should be looking to make this play. Looking to move on in here now, trying to find those angles, wants to contest Chris. Shots go back and forth, but still untouched are any of these players still on the map. Hopefully Med doesn't find themselves in a position similar to what Taran did. Could have been a very difficult position for Momentum if Taran had managed to stay alive, but Macias pushes. Med does get that frag, but it's not going to be the round, no matter how many heads that they manage to click here. They do click too. They do take down many here. But it's going to be a win on Dome, and that might be exactly what Momentum needed. They're now only 1 round behind, and Gnomes are starting to feel them breathing down their neck.
They've lost too many rounds on attack, and now they really have to come back on defense. If they get 1 round, they can tie. If they tie, that's good for them. That's going to put them at effectively 1.5 points to half points. At that point, all they would need to do is tie again in order to enter DPL. But we're coming in here, and it looks like Momentum might be able to take a win here. They're back on their preferred side. They're back on attack, but we got to remember, the first set of the game when they were on attack, they were only able to pick up 1 round.
Yeah, they really do struggle with attack, at least so far in this game. Historically, they've been good in it, but if they can't find, again, their Momentum, their namesake, they are going to struggle here. And well, they started to find some footing in that defensive half. If that's anything to go by, maybe they'll be able to take down Gnomes here, but they need 3 straight round wins to be able to bring this back and bring the series to that tie point. Otherwise, Gnomes are going to be heading into that final game. Well, maybe not heading into it at all, or heading into it with a massive advantage of that tie and already having a win under their belts.
This could be huge for them. Gnomes can only lose one more round. If they lose any more, it's just they can't win this game. They can only tie it. But if they get that one round, then they're for sure to tie it. At this point, Momentum has to play a pretty perfect game. They have to play a perfect game, a literal perfect game from here on out in order to win. And it's definitely possible. Again, we see that line from Toxic right into the office. I hope we see it. You know, that wall charge going off. Be wonderful to see. You know, no matter who you want to win, just getting to see the good strats. That's what I'm here for. If they pull it off, that could be really powerful. But again, we saw the Gnomes were considering that play as a possibility when they attacked. They're probably ready for it. They're still thinking about it. They're thinking about the what if. What if we did that? Especially when they got Toxic for free. I don't think the Gnomes are going to make the same mistake that Momentum made. And it could be devastating for them.
You can already see Index and Control both playing these angles, both expecting that. And with Control obviously playing from below in the position they're in, it's actually really difficult. People don't appreciate quite how difficult it is to be able to deal with someone below. In a lot of games, you're like, I have to deal with someone above, you know, in the sky. When they're shooting you from underneath the floor, you don't even know they're there half the time until the shots start landing. And you're really going to get caught off guard there. Already a big bit of damage as Med playing turbo cheeky here gets big chunk on the voxel to kick things off. And, well, Control is already looking to find that little bit more molly to buy some time. And oh, not a disaster. Voxel takes down Chris, and already they find themselves at a disadvantage. Push comes on through pretty darn quickly, though, and Voxel buys some space with their bullets. Grace is getting ready to set this up, securing a lot of this control, expecting the flank. They're going to open things up. They take down Nog to kick it off, and they're already on the bomb. Control tries to lock things out here, but Razor knows they can't move in here. Trades back. Med and Control find the frags they need. It's 1 now as Razor falls versus 4, and sure, they've got the position. They had the position. They had the player on the map. But Voxel is that final player alive. 1 versus 3 now as they take down Terran. Can they make it happen? They need to pick this up. They don't want to tie this game out. And right now, it's looking like a pretty perfect situation for these defenders. They hold the angle. Index shuts it down. A Gnome are round away from picking up this win and moving on into DPL.
That was a great round from Gnomes and an unfortunately poor round for Momentum. Now, Med, when he got that first shot off and was able to do the chip damage, you know, I think that might have actually hurt. Well, obviously it resulted in the frag grenade kill later on, the team kill. But we could have also seen if Med had stayed peeking there a little longer, waited for a better shot, he might have seen the wall charge and been able to call that. And the Gnomes might have been able to rotate into a better position. Again, one of their losses came from a wall charge kill because they were just not in the correct position at that time. If the wall charge had been seen and called, we might have seen it gone in favor of Gnomes even harder. Now, it ended up not mattering, but info is sometimes worth more than damage.
Yeah. Info can provide those frags later on in the round and obviously set up for all of that utility, meaning you're not going to get as quite bogged down. Now, if there is a map where teams are going to get bogged down, well, Courtyard, it's the swampiest of swamps. And Liberty Thor, well, obviously has one slap bang in the middle.
It is just one of those interesting things. Again, another interesting thing about Courtyard that some players might not know. You can enter it. There is a green door here. Now, defenders, if they enter it, they will get seen by the drones. However, that doesn't prevent them from running out and trying to peek through the windows to get cheeky plays or just ditch efforts. We could see that used if it comes down to it. And the attackers getting control of Courtyard, if you can put your face right up against the windows, that gives you a much wider FOV of the room they're looking into. But it also leaves you heavily exposed to literally all the other windows in the Courtyard. So it's huge risk reward. That's why I love these interior courtyards. is they just add so much to the game. They add these line of sights that are really easy to predict, but can be really devastating. And it's, you know, this huge, do I peek it? Do I risk it? Do I run out to try and get that kill that will save my team the game? Or do I stay alive and do the safer thing? You know, there's a lot of these risk-reward questions that are asked when playing around courtyards. Now, it looks like Momentum, they want to push reception. They're doing a full green push here. Honestly, pretty safe. But Gnomes, ready for any of the red doors if they were tried.
I love that they're playing more safe. Momentum know that their back is up against the wall. If they get caught out here, obviously, things just are over in a flash. So I love that they're calling this. I love that players are playing in this position, respecting the potential early aggression that we saw literally last round from Gnomes. They are known to try and go for this cheeky stuff. Control is right there. The spray comes on in, and Voxel comes up big. Doesn't go down, and it's all important here. Taran trying to get that spray through with the Gruber, but doesn't find a thing, unfortunately, here. And now the sprays are coming on in. Index does tag up a couple of players, but they're still alive, still trying to play at these windows, trying to play at these doors. The smoke to cut off a lot of this courtyard. Nog wastes Razor as he tries to rock on in. Index and Taran both playing in these two angles. Voxel on the inside allows them to clean him out, but Taran, they weren't expecting him. Voxel's going to peek on, take him down. The double peek, the two players pushing on in at the same time. Medkit's tagged up as well, cannot push on into that angle now in the same way. And with Voxel's backup, Chris Mirror push in, take it, and it is now 1 point away from evening things up. They want to take this draw. They want to go to the third map. Momentum can feel it. They can taste it. And it's just Gnome Dome between them and this final game.
Will it be Gnome Dome, or will it just be Kill Dome? That round was such a good push from Momentum. They were just able to get those early frags and really take the Gnomes on the back foot. The Gnomes were really expecting one of the red door plays, because why wouldn't you? That is, if you lose that round, you lose the game. You typically go all out on those situations. But no, they went green. They were able to get the early flat frags as the defenders rotated out of position, and that ended up costing them the round.
I really did. They tried to overextend that a little bit too much, and now we find ourselves in the final map, the final play, the final part, before we could potentially go into best of three, or, well, sending Gnomes all the way up to DPL. Backs against the wall. Can Momentum clutch it out? They won it the last time in this half, and maybe that's all they done well need. There's so many different angles to play here as well. 3 different options for the entry, and I think all equally viable.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of very viable entrances here. We'll have to see what Momentum wants to do. The Gnomes, they're aware of that cheeky wall charge you can get from Pit. They're aware of that jungle push. They're aware of the beach. You know, we'll have to see where they play. We can see barbed wire being marked in Pit and on the ruins. We'll likely see a player play in Castle. Castle is a huge position on this map. You see those windows. They look over base. They look over the bomb. That is a strong place to play. Now, there is a risk, though. If the attackers were to turn off power, or your team turns off power for whatever reason, that drawbridge isn't going to open. You need power to open it.
Yeah, and you got to keep that in mind, because obviously then it completely cuts off a lot of those different angles to play from, and, well, it cuts down your options massively. Now, we are looking like, well, we've got very little info on how this push is coming. No drawings on this map.
Momentum still got charges. We see the mark on the ruins. Are they just going to do the quick rush?
But Momentum, the last time you tried to do a quick rush on Kill Dome, well, it was more of, well, a slaughter than anything, rather than Kill Dome, no nothing. Dome's absolutely destroyed you. You have to be careful here. You got to bring everything. You got to clear out those barbed wires, because Taran, you can see him waiting in this little corner with the knack. Well, that thing is just an absolute mincer.
Especially in those tight quarters like that is, you could spray through and hit every single attacker with one shot.
You could. Taran's just waiting there. Maybe trying to bait out something by pretending to put some executes onto other positions in the map. Molly,
looks like they took your idea that every single entrance is viable to heart and seem to be going every single entrance.
They're wasting a lot of time, but there comes the execute. They're going via Pit. They're not going for that ruins plate, and I think that's such a good decision. They don't want to get caught out. They don't want to just lose the series and lose their DPL spot. Instead, they're going to take down control early on here. The beach was big for them. They find a frag off of it right away and are already putting this pressure on. They've got control of half the map and they're going to have to contest here. Index is likely going to be that key player holding all this long angle all the way into pit and expecting that push to potentially come. But obviously Castle getting naded out. They're going to execute straight onto it, but Med and Index cut them down as they try and push on in. And now it's 3 versus 4. This is going to have to be big here. There's not a huge amount of utility left. Med wastes Chris here, and it's now just 2. They just don't have enough of the players. They get Taran. They get something on the board. They have smokes. They have a flash. They have a decent amount to play with here, but they're going to need to cut off some of these high angles. They need to have these plays ready. The smoke goes on in. I don't think that cuts off Med's angle at all. It's going to be hard to push on through here, and it's going to be difficult to find anything at all. You can see that Macius and Mira are just honestly pussyfooting around a lot of these options, and they even lose a player as it happens. Macius with a sliver of health versus 3. It's not going to be it. Gnomes pick up the round. They pick up the series 2-0, 7-5 in both, and kill Gnome is Gnome. And that's it. Gnome are going to DPL.
That is an amazing play we saw there. That was a really good hold from Gnomes, able to just lock down the entrances, keep that split push that they had, and they were able to cut down the players early on and really just ruin the health pool advantage that the attackers had. What a game, what a series.
Really impressive stuff from Gnome, and commiserations, honestly, to Momentum, bringing that oh so close. And it was those kill domes. That was their Achilles heel. And they even picked one up in the end. They did show signs of improvement, but not being ready on those newer maps really has been a problem for them.
They just didn't have the experience for it. And Kill Dome is Gnome Dome, apparently. They are just so dominant. I think even some of the teams that have a lot of experience on Kill Dome might find it hard to go up against Momentum. They seem to really know how to play this map. I mean, we had Nog with his Noggers moment with that 4K, nearly ace early on. And I mean, just they hold the angles really well.
They really do, and they pushed them well as well. Great attacking stuff from Gnome, showing that high-tempo gameplay and coordinated pushes that we know are so important from these rival teams, and I'm looking forward to seeing them make a splash in DPL next season, because they certainly will. They've been very impressive here, and as you said before, Momentum, while they are the bottom scored team, they certainly weren't necessarily the weakest. They showed up towards the latter half of that season and were very impressive, and obviously going down here is a real sad moment for them. But unfortunately, it's all about Gnome now, picking it up, going on into that DPL, absolutely rocking it. And if you're interested to see who else is going to be going into DPL, we have same time, same place on Sunday. We're going to be having a Rats versus SPG, and that will be brought to you by Peon and I believe Zombie Bacon on the mic, and they'll be bringing you the entire action as we have more DPL promotion matches coming your way. Until then, I've been Rook. Joining me has been Red Commissar. On the production desk is going to be Simba, and well, we've brought you this matchup today. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all next time.
Good night.